Hi, this is Light Novel Sound, and welcome to Astral Pet Store. Get ready to embark on an intergalactic journey where we bring you unique stories, fascinating creatures, and otherworldly adventures. If you're a fan of fantasy, sci-fi, and unforgettable characters, you've come to the right place. On this channel, we dive into the exciting world of Astral Pet Store, where extraordinary pets with magical powers are sold in a far-out space market. Join our main character as they navigate the challenges of running a pet shop in the stars while discovering hidden secrets and forming strong bonds with their cosmic companions. A big thank you to the author Ancient She for bringing this amazing story to life, and be sure to check out the full novel at lightnovelworld.co to enjoy the entire adventure. If you enjoy adventures, quirky creatures, and unexpected twists, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a new chapter of this stellar story. Chapter 321. Sorry for the quick action. I won't lose to you again this time. Yi Hao bit his teeth. Luo Fengtian kept a straight face. You should pray to have the chance to meet me on the stage first. You! Yi Hao flew into a rage. Yu Weihan eyed Yi Hao curiously and asked Luo Fengtian, this is... Luo Fengtian was not in the mood to share, but considering who she was, Luo Fengtian explained, he is the #1 student in the Phoenix Peak Academy, the one I told you about. Oh, that one. Yu Weihan sized Yi Hao up and down with a weird look. She had heard about the winner of the match in the Phoenix Peak Academy and how he ended up being beaten by Luo Fengtian, while completely unable to fight back at all. It was a surprise that she would run into that lousy winner here. Yi Hao was quaking with rage after seeing the look in Yu Weihan's eyes. He usually wasn't this short-tempered, but his previous failure was a burning shame for him. To make it worse, that beautiful lady was aware of it. Yi Hao wished he could find a place to hide. This time, I will meet you after we get to the top 10. Yi Hao gave Luo Fengtian one last glare. Then, he turned to see Su Lingyu. He had gone there to chat with her because she was also from the Phoenix Peak Academy and Su Ping's sister. However, since Luo Fengtian was there, Yi Hao felt too embarrassed to stay. Yi Hao turned away and left. Su Yangying tried to stop him but failed. She forced a bitter smile and darted a look at Luo Fengtian and the girl with him. She knew that the girl was also from the Berserking Blade Academy. As for Luo Fengtian, Su Yangying had never liked him. Back in the day, if it weren't for Su Ping's intervention, the Berserking Blade Academy would have trashed the reputation of the Phoenix Peak Academy. What are you doing here? Su Yangying asked. She was trying to protect Su Lingyu and she did it for Su Ping's sake. Luo Fengtian noticed her intention. We do not mean her ill. We just wanted to come and talk to her to show her our care since she is here alone. Care? Su Yangying looked at him with doubt. They had once been opponents. Why would they go there to show care for Su Lingyu? What are you doing? Our teacher knows her brother. What is wrong with us coming to talk to her? Yu Weihan pulled a long face as she detected that Su Yangying wasn't buying Luo Fengtian's explanation. Opponents would mutually abhor each other, which was particularly true for the fairer sex. Su Lingyu said in a hurry since an argument was about to break out because of her. Please, sit down. Don't worry, Yangying, they didn't come with any hostile intentions. Su Yangying looked at her. Still, since Su Lingyu had said so, Su Yangying dropped the matter. Besides, that girl mentioned Su Ping. At that time, Su Yangying had begun to trust their explanation. Luo Fengtian knew that Su Lingyu was Su Ping's sister and as such, he would not have the courage to offend her. They sat down and it just so happened that the match had just started. The commentator announced the round's inauguration with passion. First up were 2 participants in Group A. After the salute was issued, everyone quieted down. The 2 participants stepped onto the stage. The participants who could make their way to the top 100, without a doubt, were all promising young elites in the Longjiang base city. He's from the Yi family. Su Yangying squinted her eyes. Luo Fengtian did the same thing. Both Yu Weihan and Su Lingyu felt a surge of fear. A young man in black had just hopped onto the stage. He was about 1.9 meters tall. He had a fine and well-proportioned figure, not the beefy sort. People could tell that he was flexible. As he stood on the stage, the young man was like a beast, waiting for his prey. A suffocating aura came off from the young man. Even Su Lingyu could feel it radiating off the stage. That young man was terrifying. He was not hiding his strength at all. How wild he was. During the trials, this young man had finished off half of the participants. His name was Yi Longtian. He came in second on the list of potential champions. People shouted and cheered for him when he entered the stage. At the same time, Yi Longtian's opponent had also stepped into the stage. That was an average, run-of-the-mill kind of person. He was about 1.7 meters tall. His look was nothing special and neither was his hair. The only noticeable thing about him was the gun-looking device he carried on his belt and the saber on his back. He had to be skilled in using both weapons. "Isn't using firearms against the rules?" someone questioned. At the same time, a few people recognized that this was a special artifact, not a high-tech weapon. As more and more people began to voice their doubts, the commentator explained that they had tested and checked the device. It was a type of treasured artifact and thus using it was not against the rules. The general public had no clear idea about the nature of treasured artifacts. They merely knew that those artifacts were special weapons that had strange structures. Not even with the most advanced technology in the Federation could people understand their structures. "That man is an explorer," Luo Fengtian pointed out. He could tell from that man's sinister demeanor and look. If Yi Longtian were a beast, then this person would be a seasoned hunter hiding in the depths of the woods. Yet, at this moment, no one thought that this seasoned hunter would win because the beast he would be facing was vicious. That beast was the kind that could never be hunted. Both Su Yangying and Yu Weian were watching closely to avoid missing any details. Su Lingyu was dedicating her mind completely to the upcoming competition. Bang! The match began. The huge stage was surrounded by a transparent seal so that the participants could do whatever they wanted while on the stage. "Just admit defeat. I don't want to see you get hurt." Yi Longtian looked down on his opponent indifferently. "Well, I have been hurt many times. What can one more do?" The young explorer grinned, but he remained solemn-faced. He knew that Yi Longtian, the future family head of the Yi family, was a dangerous opponent. Whoosh! As his grin faded away, the young explorer struck first to gain the initiative. He began to summon his pets first. Roar! Roar! People heard two loud noises. Two pets crawled out of the space. One was a wolf of the wind family and the other was a bird of the fire family. Both pets could move with agility. "Go!" The young explorer growled. He passed his order to his pets through his mind. The two pets dashed away at the same time. Their cooperation was impeccable. A hurricane was swept across, and in this hurricane, flames suddenly appeared. The hurricane was suddenly set ablaze, which was much more lethal. That was because of the combination of the wolf and the bird's skills. It was evident that the young explorer didn't choose the two pets randomly. He picked them because their skills could be mutually complementary. As the two pets released their skills, the young explorer drew his blade as well. Bang! The young explorer moved astral powers outside his body. He compressed them into an energy bullet and fired it. That special artifact would use astral powers as bullets to inflict serious harm. That artifact was as powerful as an anti-tank cartridge. It could penetrate tanks and could blast open a beast at the upper position of the 7th rank. Compared to beasts, battle pet warriors were much weaker. A 7th rank battle pet warrior would be weaker in defense than a 5th rank beast unless the battle pet warrior was able to use special defensive skills. Boom! It sounded as if something had exploded. The hurricane swallowed Yi Longtian. The energy bullet had also penetrated the hurricane. Before the audience even had a chance to scream in surprise, a figure had rushed out from the hurricane. It was Yi Longtian. He had no pets with him. "You're asking for an insult." Cruelty was added to the coldness in Yi Longtian's eyes. The young explorer was stunned still. He couldn't imagine how Yi Longtian had managed to come out from his attacks completely unharmed. Not to mention the fact that Yi Longtian hadn't even summoned his pets. How did he do that? While the young explorer was still digesting the shocking event, Yi Longtian had approached him with vigorous strides. The young explorer's rich combat experience had saved him. He came back to his senses instantly and stepped backward right away. At the same time, he was about to summon a third pet. Secret skill, Instant Slash. Yi Longtian said in a low voice. Yi Longtian was about 10 meters away from the young explorer. But with a flash, Yi Longtian had closed in on the young explorer again. Bang! Yi Longtian landed a punch on the young explorer's face, knocking him away. The young explorer ended up bumping into the seal. The battle had ended. With one move, Yi Longtian had crushed his opponent. The young explorer had yet to summon his third pet, and the audience would never get to see what skills that pet had. At the staging area. Oh damn! Is that guy a monster? The 98 people in Group A that were waiting for their turns had turned pale as they witnessed this crazy exhibit of power. The most astonishing thing was that Yi Longtian defeated his opponent all by himself without using any pets. All the people of the Mu, Liu, and Qin families appeared to be worried. Only 3 or 4 of them could keep a calm face. One of the several was Qin Shaotian. Instead of looking concerned, Qin Shaotian was actually wearing a smile. Another person who still stayed composed was Liu Qingfeng. At the end of the match, he squinted for a second, and then everything returned to normal. A thin-looking young man of the Mu family kept a straight face throughout the process. What? Su Lingyu and those around her were all frozen on the spot. That was impressive. Yi Longtian ended the match with a single punch. This should have been a battle with pets, but he didn't use any pets. He had won the match while relying on himself completely. That was what a talent from a major family was like. Luo Fengtian was still in shock. Yi Longtian's violent action had left a deep impression on him. Up until then, for the most time, Luo Fengtian would have to rely on his pet, the Black Pit Dragon. Luo Fengtian believed that, alone, he wouldn't even be able to defeat one of that young explorer's pets, not to mention survive the 2 pet strikes. A secret skill. That was what the major families were proud of. Besides, Luo Fengtian noticed something else in the match. Yi Longtian's method was a bit uncommon among battle pet warriors, but it was similar to what he had seen in another person before. Thinking of that person, Luo Fengtian could not help but dart a look at Su Lingyu with complicated feelings. He's too powerful. We're not nearly good enough to compete with him. Su Yangying cried out. Yi Longtian was a monster. No, he was even more horrifying. Sitting next to her was Yu Weihan. She didn't seem to agree with Su Yangying's comment at first, but a moment later, she heaved a sigh. She was competitive, however. She knew that there were certain people that she could never catch up with. That will be one of my opponents, Su Lingyu mumbled to herself. She looked even paler. She felt she was much weaker than Yi Longtian in both her own abilities and her pets. People cheered passionately after Yi Longtian's victory. Yi Longtian's match had ignited the flames of passion in everyone. He came off the stage and the second match in Group A began. This time, the 2 parties were well matched in strength and their battle did not end so quickly. They both used pets and their match continued for several rounds. Although their match was not as shocking as Yi Longtian's, the skills they used and the carefully arranged plans they conjured up during the battle were still a feast to the eyes. Many participants that didn't pass the previous trial felt their eyes had been opened, and they also picked up a few tricks. More and more battles were fought and the audience's cheers were never-ending. Soon, everyone in Group A had finished their battles. The ultimate winner in Group A was Yi Longtian. Group A did have other participants with great potential, but they had all lost to Yi Longtian. In the following battles, Yi Longtian didn't enjoy another easy win as the first. He eventually had to use 1 pet. He had to summon 2 pets when it came to the final match in Group A. Both of the 2 pets had 9th rank bloodlines. Usually, they could be more than enough to serve as major pets. However, it seemed that those 2 pets were merely Yi Longtian's secondary pets. It was all because of Yi Longtian's bossy way of fighting. He crushed all of his opponents. First, he would rely on his own strength. Then, he would summon one pet if he couldn't end the battle. If one was not enough, he would summon another, but it would always be a crushing victory for him. The longest battle for him had lasted for 3 minutes. Compared to others who would easily fight for more than 10 minutes, Yi Longtian was marvelously quick. Everyone could tell that Yi Longtian had not exerted his full strength yet. After all the matches of Group A had been completed, everyone was chanting his name, believing he was even more likely to win the championship. It was then Group B's turn. Group B also had a promising participant, Liu Qingfeng. The participants took their turns and Liu Qingfeng's match caught much attention as well. Of course, compared to Yi Longtian, Liu Qingfeng's performance was much more mediocre. He summoned his pets from the beginning and would only defeat his opponents after several rounds. At the very beginning, the audience felt a bit bored. Then, they realized something. Liu Qingfeng defeated one opponent after another and entered Group B's finals. He had only used one pet with an 8th rank bloodline and he had crushed all of his opponents. The finals of Group B came to an end. The result was within everyone's expectations. Liu Qingfeng won the finals and made it to the top 10. The matches in Group C came next. Participants in Group C were less stunning than those of the 2 previous groups. None of the participants stood out in any way, but they weren't bad. The battles of Group C had lasted for the longest time. The ultimate winner of Group C was a student who had graduated from the Ars Academy a few years back. It was said that this person was a reserve member of a certain S-level explorers team. All the members on an S-level team would be at least at the 8th rank. To be a reserve member was proof of the strong abilities and talents of this man. Su Lingyu watched all the matches quietly. The more she watched, the more silent she became. This had been an opportunity for her to see so many brilliant battle pet warriors. At the Phoenix Peak Academy, she was number 1 in her grade. Here, she was one of the youngest participants. But sometimes, she could not even understand the actions of those who were 6 or 7 years older than her. She believed that she wouldn't even be able to reach their level in another 6 or 7 years. The feeling that her peers excelled made her anxious. At first, she would find excuses, that they enjoyed having tons of allotted resources thanks to their big families and were in want of nothing. Later on, she thought of Su Ping. That guy had nothing, and yet he was as strong as a monster. He was more powerful than the participants she had seen there so far. Therefore, the excuse of having a lack of resources would not stand for long. Eventually, she decided that it was because she had not worked hard enough and she didn't have enough talent. One would know better than anyone else if he or she were working hard enough. Su Lingyu remembered that sometimes, she would give herself some time off to relax. Maybe, others were still cultivating and training while she rested. The more she thought of that, the more anxious she became. She wished she could make the best of every minute at the staging area to cultivate. She knew she couldn't, though. Cultivating there would expose her strength. If someone were to disturb her on purpose, her cultivation could backfire. Finally, she understood why Su Ping would hurry home as soon as her matches were over. Going back home to cultivate was better than remaining to see the other matches. She would tell people that she was there, observing, gaining experience. But whether she was relaxing under the pretense of learning, she knew better than anyone. At the moment, she regarded herself as one with a slightly above average talent. She had so much to work on before she could become an amazing battle pet warrior. Such being the case, to catch up with that genius, she would have to be diligent. As the games in Group C came to an end, it was Group D's turn. The participants first drew their names. Everyone turned their looks to the large screen and everyone seemed to be stressed out except for one, Qin Shaotian. He gazed at the Liu family's seats with anticipation. There, those of the Liu family were fixing their eyes on the screen. They were dying to find out who would be Liu Jianxin's opponent. At the same time, Su Lingyu and Yu Weihen were also staring at the screen. Both were in Group D. Oh, please don't let it be them, Yu Weihen whispered to herself. She was anxious to outdo others, but she did not want to encounter those two freaks. She would have no chance to prove herself. Having watched so many battles, the confidence that stemmed from the fact that she thought she was better than her peers had been crushed a bit. That was what the matches were about. This was a stage for the elites and a graveyard for the weak. This was a place where people could grow up fast and be inspired. Su Lingyu never took her eyes off the screen. She didn't utter a single word. Before that day, she might have prayed for a weaker opponent by this time. But her mindset had changed within a short time, just as she watched the matches of the previous 3 groups. Growing up always happened within an instant. When the mindset changed, a person would grow. Since her target was to win the championship, she would eventually meet those opponents. It was just a matter of time. Worry would not do her any good. No amount of hiding or clever tricks could help her win. She needed none of that because her only leverage was the Moonfrost Dragon Su Ping had given her. That was her ace card. At the moment, the spinning names had come to a stop on the screen. 5 pairs had been decided. The second Yu Weihan saw the name of her opponent, she was both surprised and relieved. She felt lucky. Yu Weihan turned to Su Lingyu and smiled. What a surprise. It's us. I think we're both lucky enough to not have to face those 2 guys. Su Lingyu took her gaze off from the screen and said to Yu Weihan, good luck to you. To you, as well. Don't go easy on me, Yu Weihan answered. I won't. Likewise. Su Yangying felt happy for Su Lingyu since her opponent turned out to be Yu Weihan. Su Yangying was not sure how good Yu Weihan was because she didn't go to the most recent academy exchange. Nevertheless, this was better than seeing Su Lingyu competing against the 2 freaks from the beginning. Up until then, the 10 participants whom people thought were likely to win the championship had not let anyone down. Su Yangying gave Su Lingyu a bit of a pep talk. Best of luck to you. You can do it. Su Lingyu nodded with a smile. Yu Weihan showed a cold grin upon hearing Su Yangying's words. Luo Fengtian noticed her grin. He frowned and whispered to Yu Weihan, you'd better be careful. She is not that easy to beat. Yu Weihan turned around to face Luo Fengtian, surprised that such a proud person would be afraid of someone, a girl who was in her first year in the academy and was not from any major family. Yu Weihan smiled and used her astral power to build up a soundproof seal. All she has is the dragon which has just reached adulthood at best. I, for one, am eager to find out how strong the dragon can be. Luo Fengtian's frown continued, but he said nothing else to her. He knew that her words made sense. Yet, somehow, his mind was disturbed. Some unsettling images would flash past his mind now and then. At the same time, the Liu family. A young Liu family member was visibly relaxed as he whispered, lucky you. You don't have to fight him in the first battle. Liu Genshin felt he could breathe as well. He didn't have to fight Qin Shaotian in his first battle. Qin Shaotian's opponent was someone he didn't deem as threatening either. Liu Genshin was glad that he didn't have Qin Shaotian as his opponent. It is a shame that you don't have that girl with a wild talk as your opponent, another Liu family member said. The others looked over and cast their sights on a girl in the distance. All of them were pulling long faces. Don't worry. She is in Group D and she's out of luck. Either you or Qin Shaotian will teach her a good lesson. Liu Qingfeng didn't seem to worry. The others chuckled. That was what they thought. Back to the Qin family. Qin Shaotian took his look of disappointment off from the screen. He had lost interest. The others of the Qin family, on the other hand, felt a burden had been lifted. They didn't want their young master to take risks too early in the match, either. After all the results of the drawing lots had come out, the match in Group D was just beginning. The order was also randomly selected among the 5 pairs. Yu Weihan was surprised to see that she would be the first to compete in Group D. Su Lingyu saw the result as well. She stood up, keeping a straight face. Yu Weihan turned her gaze from the screen to Su Lingyu, only to see that girl had changed completely. The latter didn't seem to be afraid or nervous at all. Su Lingyu's calmness vexed Yu Weihan, but she kept it to herself. Let's go. Sure. The two girls went onto the stage at the same time. The audience raised a burst of cheers as two pretty girls made an appearance. Su Lingyue's face leaped into the audience's view and they began to shout her name in joy. Yu Weihan looked awful after hearing everyone shouting Su Lingyue's name. Yu Weihan knew about the guaranteed championship matter, but she merely regarded that as a publicity stunt. Same as everyone else, she had never taken this seriously. However, it seemed that everyone was cheering for Su Lingyu and the passion had been ignited because of her. Yu Weihan was unhappy about this. The glistening seal opened up a path and the two girls went into the seal and onto the stage. The seal was closed off at once. The chanting and cheering became even louder. Su Lingyu and Yu Weihan stepped to the edges where a red line had been drawn, much like a goal line on a football field. Before the match officially began, the participants couldn't step over the line. Su Lingyu, don't be soft-hearted. I will exert my full strength. Yu Weihan cautioned Su Lingyu seriously and coldly. Su Lingyu nodded as a reply. To not be soft-hearted? Naturally she had to win. She wasn't competing to lose. The judge announced the beginning of the match. Immediately, Su Lingyu summoned the Moonfrost Dragon. The space twisted and a gust of chilly wind was spread across. The Moonfrost Dragon came out. Many participants at the staging area were excited to see this dragon. The Moonfrost Dragon was one of the rarest and most cherished kind. Yu Weihan had naturally predicted that Su Lingyu would use this dragon. With a grin, Yu Weihan made a pulling gesture in the air. Two swirls appeared and from them crawled out two pets. Penetrating wave. Su Lingyu gave the command. She had done half of her job the moment she summoned the Moonfrost Dragon and the other half was issuing commands to the dragon. Roar! The Moonfrost Dragon roared. The sound echoed in the entire venue. The two battle pets that Yu Weihan had just summoned lost their sight due to the shock of the roar, before they were able to see their surroundings. The next second, an almost transparent light wave came into being in the Moonfrost Dragon's mouth. No! The judge who was standing in the air saw energy converging in the Moonfrost Dragon's mouth. Frightened, the judge mobilized his astral powers and built up many astral shields in front of Yu Weihan. Over a dozen shields were overlapping. Because of their sheer number, the transparency in the shields had turned into a light blue. Yu Weihan was still confused when the shields emerged in front of her. The next second, she witnessed something she would never forget for the rest of her life. The more than a dozen shields cracked open instantly. They broke up like glass mirrors. That moment, she saw a beam of light. She knew that her hair had been blown back. Immediately afterward, a loud noise came into her ears, and Yu Weihan felt that the stage under her feet, as well as the entire seal and venue, were shaking violently. That light wave didn't hit Yu Weihan. Instead, the light wave flew past her and landed on the seal behind her. Yu Weihan felt she had just brushed against death. She was frozen on the spot, with a dull look on her face. Chapter 322, Qin Shaotian. Residual heat from the light wave could still be felt in the air. In the staging area, many participants had been stunned still. Even the powerful ones who had been able to remain calm seemed surprised. On the stage, Yu Weihan felt there was a constant buzzing noise inside her head. That scene was still vivid in front of her eyes. For a moment, her brain had stopped working. A few seconds later, she came back to her senses. She looked at the girl standing on the other side of the stage. All of a sudden, Yu Weihan felt an urge to cry. She was scared. She was scared out of her wits. For a moment there, she thought she was going to die. The light wave didn't hit her. She knew she couldn't have made it alive if that horrifying energy attack had hit her. What kind of skill is that? Hasn't the dragon just reached adulthood? How can it use such a horrifying level of energy? Yu Weihan stared at the girl standing on the opposite side with confusion. Yu Weihan's original expectation for the match was that she had a bigger chance of winning. As it turned out, her opponent was the one achieving a complete victory. Su Lingyu crushed her and won a landsliding victory. Yu Weihan would have died if Su Lingyu hadn't pulled her punches. There was a world of difference between them. Are you okay? A man flew to Yu Wei-han quickly. He was the judge, a titled battle pet warrior. He could intervene when some matches went out of control and save the participants. At this stage, all of the participants were young talents and they could grow to be future cornerstones of the base city. To lose their lives over the Elite League would be pointless. Of course, as for those who lost their lives by accident in the branch venues, that was a completely different story. Yu Wei-hen looked at the judge. From him, she once again found a sense of security. I'm fine. The moment she saw him hurrying over, she knew that the judge was the one who had set up the shields for her. She was awfully grateful for what he did. Do you want to admit defeat? The gap between you two is vast. The judge was offering Yu Wei-han a chance. If she chose to continue the fight, he would no longer intervene. An ignorant fool could not be seen as an elite. The judge's words were blunt. Yu Wei-han turned pale from shame and inner pain. Her heart was still trembling as she thought of the previous strike. She wasn't sure if she could have survived a second strike. I admit defeat. Saying those words was certainly not easy for her. Her voice sounded hoarse. She seemed to have used up all of her energy in uttering those words. She lost all of her spirits after she spoke. The judge nodded. He flew up to the air and announced to the public that Yu Wei-hen had admitted defeat. He wasn't using a speaker to amplify his voice. Still, everyone across the venue was able to hear him with the help of astral power. Hooray! People hailed Su Lingyue's great victory. Staging area. Liu family. Several people wore grave expressions, especially Liu Jianxin. His eyebrows were tightly knitted together. He didn't know that apart from the mysterious Qin Shaotian, he had to deal with another tough character in Group D, the girl whom he had neglected. 9th rank skill by a 7th rank pet, Liu Qingfeng mumbled. He took a long look at the girl who was stepping off from the stage. We have just found our tool to feel Qin Shaotian out. Liu Qingfeng grinned. Liu Jianxin picked up what Liu Qingfeng meant. The clouds over Liu Jianxin's heart were dispersed. He, too, put on a grin. The more powerful the girl was, the better off they would be. She could help them force more cards out of Qin Shaotian. Sir, shouldn't the Moonfrost Dragon be using ice-related skills? Why would it use light? A Liu family young man asked in confusion. He couldn't figure this out. To use skills that weren't of their main class was not easy. Pure ice energy was stored in the bones of dragons that used ice-related skills. The dragon would have to have a strong spiritual power to try skills of other categories and they would be of low levels. To use a skill of the 9th rank, the dragon would have to have a rich energy reserve and use its own body as the media to connect to the energy existing in the void. That was to say, the Moonfrost Dragon would have to have a profound reserve of light energy. However, that would weaken the Moonfrost Dragon's ice-related skills. This Moonfrost Dragon has mutated. We cannot regard it as a normal dragon. Liu Qingfeng didn't seem to be surprised. The appearance of the Moonfrost Dragon was clear enough for people to notice that it had gone through a drastic mutation. It was covered in both golden and silver scales. Oh, I see. The Liu family people understood. In the meanwhile, Qin family. Qin Shaotian was smiling. Things have become more and more interesting. She will make it to the top 10 or even the top 5. I wonder who will win between the two of them, her or Liu Jianxin. The losing party of each group's finals would have a chance to fight against the losing party of other groups to win a chance to compete for a place among the top 10 again. At Group D, Qin Shaotian believed he and Liu Jianxin would definitely encounter each other, and the way he saw it, Liu Jianxin would be the losing party. Well, a surprising turn of events had taken place. As such, Qin Shaotian could not wait to see what would happen when the girl and Liu Jianxin met on stage. The three people who came with Qin Shaotian forced a smile. Never did they expect that the competition in this group would become so intense. Both the girl and Liu Jianxin had enough abilities to win a good place. Still, since they were in the same group, one of them was bound to be eliminated. Yes, the losing party at the finals could win another chance, but that was one person after. Or The Qin family was not the only party considering this. Soon, the other participants as well as audience members who were familiar with the rules had also realized this matter. For a moment, everyone had high expectations for the matches in Group D. In the staging area, Su Lingyu and Yu Weihan had sat down in their seats. Seeing Su Lingyu coming back victorious had filled Yi Hao, Su Yangying, and Luo Fengtian with complicated feelings alike. For Luo Fengtian, he was feeling extra emotions of astonishment and confusion. The Academy Exchange match didn't happen a long time before. Barely a month had passed. Back then, he had seen what the girl was able to do. She had tried her best but she failed eventually. And this day, she easily defeated Yu Weihan. She had developed faster than anyone could imagine. At the same time, Luo Fengtian realized what made the difference. He didn't remember Su Lingyu having the dragon she was using in the Academy Exchange. He recalled the matches she had participated in throughout this time. She was relying completely on this dragon and that was obvious. Of course, he couldn't say for sure if she had other pets in hiding but he believed that was unlikely. The dragon was stunning and being the secondary pet was unlikely. Few people could have survived that marvelous 9th rank light wave. That skill alone could have guaranteed a good place for her, even a place in the top 5. Under the premise that she had no other powerful opponents in the group. Luo Fengtian blinked. He couldn't wait to see the following matches in Group D. Your dragon is amazing, Su Yangying said after Su Lingyu took her seat. Su Yangying was not as astonished as the others. She found it easy to understand. The fact that Su Lingyu was Su Ping's younger sister explained a lot. Even a lightning rat could be trained to a horrifying level in Su Ping's store, not to mention a rare and treasured dragon. If the dragon could progress as quickly as the lightning rat, then Su Yangying believed the following matches would be meaningless. In her mind, not even the two powerful opponents in the group could have defeated the dragon. At the same time, Su Yangying knew that it was unlikely for the dragon to progress as much as the lightning rat. The latter was at a low rank and thus had a higher chance of moving up. On the other hand, the dragon was already at a high starting point. To reach another rank would be much more difficult. Su Lingyu sat down. She saw someone waving at her from the distance. It was Xu Kuang. He was grinning from ear to ear and giving her a thumbs up, as if saying, "No wonder you're my teacher's sister." Su Lingyu rolled her eyes at him and restored her cool. She then turned to where the Liu family and the Qin family were seated, only to see the two powerful opponents she was worried about were idly chatting or looking elsewhere, clearly ignoring her. Frustrated, Su Lingyu decided to treat the matches more seriously. At the same time, Yu Weihan had returned. She lowered her head so that others would not see the look on her face. Luo Fengtian felt how depressed she was. "You've done a nice job already. I suppose I'll come and join your team later. Let's work harder when we go back," he comforted her. Yu Weihan trembled. She raised her head to look at him and nodded. His comforting words didn't make her feel any better. She would have felt less sad if she had lost to Qin Shaotian or Liu Jianxin. After all, she had never thought herself able enough to compete with freaks like them. But she lost to Su Lingyu, a first-year student in the academy. Yu Weihan felt her self-esteem had been injured. "Sorry." She heard a gentle voice. It was the winner Su Lingyu who uttered the word. Su Lingyu didn't appear to be proud of her win and even her "sorry" sounded sincere rather than domineering. "Sincere?" Yu Weihan bit her teeth. "It's okay. I'm not a sore loser." Yu Weihan took a deep breath. "Good luck to you. I heard that your goal is to win the championship. I will cheer for you." Su Lingyu wondered if Yu Weihan meant it or whether she was being sarcastic. Since she couldn't tell, she decided to regard her words as sincere. "I will win." She nodded. She also said to herself, "I must win." She understood what failure would mean to her. She would not only lose her glory but her life. There wasn't much she could do on the stage, but she had to carry the safety of her entire family on her back. Su Lingyu was serious and determined. Yu Weihan curled her lips and looked away without saying anything else. Su Yangying was surprised to see that Su Lingyu appeared to have more vigor than when she was in the barren area. So, the quickest way for a person to grow was through battles and competition, right? Su Yangying began to understand why the academy would have undergraduate students participate in the elite league. Even losing, they could stand to gain. After Su Lingyu and Yu Weihan exited the stage, the second pair of Group D started their match. Qin Shaotian and a young man from the Mu family. The person from the Mu family enjoyed a high status. As long as he wouldn't suffer an accidental death, he would grow up to be an important member of the Mu family. In the beginning, the one from the Mu family tried some trash-talking but failed to enrage Qin Shaotian. The latter casually summoned the 7th rank battle pet he had used during the trial. That was a pet of the Wind family. The pet had wings like an elf and looked like a human being. Its dark and glowing eyes took up half of its face. The upper half of the pet's body resembled that of a female human being with breasts covered up in flower petals, quite enticing. 7th rank Wind Siren. Of all the 7th rank pets, Wind Sirens weren't the most stunning and had few skills. The only thing noticeable about a Wind Siren was its inherent skill, gale speed. The skill could increase speed by 2 times. If coupled with agile pets, like the supersonic wasp, the Wind Siren could bring about much damage. The Mu family participant didn't expect that Qin Shaotian would still use a 7th rank battle pet at this point. The Mu family youngster summoned 3 battle pets directly and all had 9th rank bloodlines. His major pet was a dragon with a 9th rank bloodline, the Icewing Dragon. The dragon also used ice-related skills. It wasn't one of the rarest dragons but was still popular. The Wind Siren's ability to increase speed would be useless when the opponent was a dragon. A dragon's roar that could inflict harm in all beings was more than enough to deter any attempt to increase speed. That was why dragons were overwhelming. Apart from the dragon, the other 2 pets appeared to be glamorous, while also being endowed with abilities in flying cloaking, mass killing, and close-range combat. The pets were excellent in every way. The 7th rank Wind Siren to those 3 pets was like a little girl in front of giants. The former would only be able to shiver in fear. Qin Shaotian smiled. The match began. The Wind Siren began to chant. A wind sprang up and soon formed some strange patterns that were engraved into Qin Shaotian. The speed increase was for Qin Shaotian? He was going to fight the pets by himself? The audience was taken aback. The next second, Qin Shaotian gave the audience the answer. He dashed and vanished on the spot. The moment Qin Shaotian vanished from sight, the young man from the Mu family erased his grin. He was filled with trepidation and worry. Immediately, he told the Icewing Dragon to roar and to set up ice guards. Roar! The roar echoed in the venue. But it was much less intimidating than the Moonfrost Dragon's roar. No comparison, no harm. Having experienced the Moonfrost Dragon's roar many times, the audience felt no pressure when dealing with the Icewing Dragon's roar. Without the Moonfrost Dragon, the Icewing Dragon's roar would have thrilled people. A wall formed with ice protected the Mu family young man within. He breathed in relief as the wall was completed. However, the next second, his eyes almost fell out of his face in shock. Inside the wall, in front of him, Qin Shaotian had come out of thin air and was looking at him with a smile. The wall that should be his protection had become his would-be tomb. He and his pets had been separated. When did Qin Shaotian come in? Why wasn't he stopped by the dragon's roar? The Mu family young man wore fear on his face. Admit defeat. Killing you is no fun, Qin Shaotian said. The Mu family youngster trembled. Qin Shaotian was not displaying any powers, but the young man felt he was sharing a room with a monster. I give up. The young man worked up the strength. The ice thawed, revealing a scene that dumbfounded the audience. When they saw the Mu family participant retreat behind the ice cover, they were just thinking about what Qin Shaotian would do to crack the wall. But when the ice melted, they saw that Qin Shaotian was already inside with the Mu family guy. That speed was unbelievable. The outcome of the match was clear. Triumph for Qin Shaotian. Relying on his own, Qin Shaotian had reached his opponent despite the 3 pets standing on his way. No one would think that the Mu family participant had a single chance to fight back. Qin Shaotian had snatched an instant win. Chapter 323, The Defining Match. Wow! As the battle ended, the audience burst into cheers. No one could stay calm. They never knew that a battle pet warrior, one that would usually hide behind pets, could demonstrate such powers. Granted, Qin Shaotian had the help of the wind siren. Even so, his speed had come as a shock to all. They never knew that a human being was capable of moving at such speed. At the staging area all the participants had grave expressions. They, too, had been astonished by the speed. The Yi family gathering. Yi Longtian squinted. A glint of danger oozed out from his eyes. Before he knew it, he had clenched his fists and put on a ferocious look. The Liu family. The Liu family disciples were still visibly shaken. For a moment, Liu Genshin had also been stunned into stillness. Qin Shaotian didn't summon any powerful pets and the Mu family guy had admitted defeat. Yet, the speed that Qin Shaotian had displayed gave Liu Genshin the chills. If it were him on the stage, with Qin Shaotian catching him off guard, he was sure that he wouldn't have been able to fend off the strike. Qin Shaotian's speed was breathtaking. Qin Shaotian was merely at the 6th rank. How could he speed up like that? Liu Qingfeng was more concerned than ever. He clenched his lips shut and refrained from making a comment. That was fast. I couldn't even see him. Both Luo Fengtian and Su Yangying were so astonished that they could not think straight. Similar to them, Su Lingyu and Yu Weihan were staring blankly at the stage. They had never thought that this match would have ended so quickly. After all, Qin Shaotian's opponent was from the Mu family and the latter had performed well in the previous matches. However, this time, that guy had admitted defeat after 1 round. Qin Shaotian, Su Lingyu had a worried look. She took a deep breath to calm herself down. Yu Weihan noticed Su Lingyu's tension. All of a sudden, Yu Weihan felt sorry for her. Su Lingyu was the one who would have to fight this monster. Just thinking about it was terrifying enough. Qin Shaotian had left the stage. The next pair went up. Soon, it was Liu Genshin's turn. As one of the candidates that were likely to win first place, Liu Genshin was showered with cheers as soon as he came out. Before Su Lingyu's dragon had launched the fatal strike, everyone believed that the winner in Group D would either be Qin Shaotian or Liu Genshin. Both had great potential. Then, Su Lingyu came out and stunned the audience. Group D's matches had been stuffed with uncertainties. The audience thought that they would be able to gauge Liu Genshin's performance based on this match. They would decide in advance who was more likely to win the finals in Group D and secure a spot in the top 10. However, against everyone's anticipation, Liu Genshin's opponent admitted defeat as soon as he came onto the stage. He didn't even summon his pets. The reason was simple. That man was also surnamed Liu. The expectation turned into disappointment. The audience couldn't help but complain. Still, their unhappiness didn't matter. You could not stop him if he decided to admit defeat, could you? The audience was disappointed, since they hadn't been able to see Liu Genshin fight. But people gradually calmed down after some complaints and curses. The matches would go on and Liu Genshin would go up to the stage sooner or later. The audience was just unhappy that they couldn't see him showcasing his strength earlier. Soon, Group D welcomed its second selection round. The winning and losing parties of the 5 pairs had been decided. The 5 winners would fight in one-on-one games to select 2 winners and those 2 would enter a defining match. That winner would secure a spot in the top 10. The one getting a bye in this round would first challenge any losing party in this second round. After winning, he or she could challenge the one who failed in the defining battle. After a second win, he or she would get a chance to go for the top 10 spots. On the other hand, if he or she lost to the one who failed in the defining battle, then the latter would gain the chance to go for the top 10 spots by choosing to challenge an existing participant of the top 10. Winning meant that said person would take a spot in the top 10 and there would be no one else contesting this. Fairness was guaranteed with such a rule. This would help in avoiding situations where the more powerful participants would encounter each other too early and lose a chance to win a good place. Say Liu Genshin and Qin Shaotian met each other in this second round. The losing party could still challenge the person in the bye. After winning, the former could challenge the one who failed in the defining battle, and if it was a win, that person would make it to the top 10. With enough strength, that person could climb even higher. On the screen, the names and profile pictures of the 5 were shifting. Everyone, including the 5, were holding their breaths. Soon, Su Lingyu saw the name of her opponent. She was not in the bye. She felt a bit disappointed. At the same time, it relieved her to see that her opponent was neither Qin Shaotian nor Liu Genshin. Qin Shaotian's opponent was not Liu Genshin either. In this second round, Liu Genshin had gotten the bye. That was a surprise to everyone. For the first round, Liu Genshin's opponent had straight off thrown the sponge. Then he had the bye for the second round. He made it to the third round without needing the slightest effort. How unbelievable was that? Many among the audience even thought that they should draw the names again because it seemed that there was some shady deal in progress. But the names had been drawn by a machine and the process had been monitored by the 5 major families as well as the mayor. The cheater would have gained all of their approval to succeed. Therefore, the result was final. The Liu family members looked at each other speechlessly. They had been worried that Liu Genshin might have had to confront Qin Shaotian at this round, or Su Lingyu, who was also a cause for concern. Before her match, they had been eager to see a match between Liu Genshin and the girl. However, after they witnessed the dragon's abilities, they only hoped that Qin Shaotian would fight the girl first so that the two would both suffer. In that case, Liu Genshin's chance of winning would be bigger. Brother Genshin, how lucky you are! What a surprise! Brother Genshin, I cannot believe this. Gee, in the bye. This is fate, man. That's how it always goes for the protagonist in a novel. They only have to fight until the end, a battle that will shock the world. Hey, Meng, you seem to know a lot. The Liu family disciples exclaimed. Liu Genshin finally accepted the fact. This was a relief to him as well. In the meantime, he put on a wry smile. He had not seen this coming and yes, his winning did seem like a breeze. Genshin, Liu Qingfeng turned around to him and then a long silence followed. This is good. Liu Genshin was perplexed. What did I do? What was good? Now that he thought about it, Liu Genshin noticed that he was having the best luck this day. Currently, Group D was the toughest group. Qin Shaotian was the one that the major families deemed as the most dangerous and he was also in Group D. The ridiculous girl who had claimed she was going to be the champion all of a sudden demonstrated terrifying powers. All of this had turned Group D into an abyss of fierce competition. Both Qin Shaotian and the girl would be a threat. Whichever Liu Genshin had to fight, he would be in bad luck and the other one would be at an advantage. But he was the one taking advantage at the moment. Even fate was helping him. The Qin family. Crap, that dude has gained an extra advantage. That is to say, Shaotian will most likely confront that girl. Similar to Liu Genshin, that girl is dangerous. I don't think the dragon has used its full strength yet. I wonder if that girl has other pets to defend her. If not, given Shaotian's speed, he can finish her off in 1 second. The Qin family disciples were trying to analyze the situation for Qin Shaotian. Qin Shaotian leaned against his chair with a casual look on his face. When the result of the drawing came out, he darted a glance at the girl in the distance and noticed a trace of delight on her face. Qin Shaotian smiled. Then he turned to the Liu family. His smile grew even wider as he saw how excited the Liu family people were. The fighting order was later decided. The second round for Group D was not an official beginning. The first up was Su Lingyu and her opponent. That young man was not from the 5 major families nor from a famous academy. He had graduated from an average academy and had gained experience by risking his life in the barren areas. The judge said their names. Su Lingyu got up from her seat and went up to the stage. She stood within the red line and summoned the Moonfrost Dragon in advance. The audiences broke into another round of cheers, shouting her name to welcome the dragon. Su Lingyue's opponent hopped onto the other end of the stage. The young man kept a straight face as if the people chanting her name meant nothing to him. He slowly drew the blade and also summoned his pets behind the red line. They were at the 7th rank and both had reached their peak state. Without the Moonfrost Dragon, people would have screamed and marveled at the other two pets. However, the Moonfrost Dragon was there and the audience had seen many other battle pets with 9th rank bloodlines. The audience merely heaved sighs of disappointment. Humph! The young man sneered. The two battle pets were merely a disguise. The ace card in his hand was the secret third pet in hiding. But first, he would have to survive the horrifying light beam discharged by the dragon. Curving surface, the young man mumbled. There was a flash of white light in the eyes of one of the pets. The light around them twisted a bit, but the change was so subtle that it was almost invisible. But the judge in the air saw it. He merely cast a casual glance at the young man without saying anything. He could release skills and summon battle pets in advance as long as he didn't step over the red line before the match started. A fight between battle pet warriors was not a test only for the pet's brute force, but more on the warrior's planning and strategy. Of course, unless the pet was too formidable. Well? The moonlit beast. Standing on the side of the stage, Su Lingyu managed to recognize the two battle pets her opponent summoned immediately. One of the pets was of the demon family and the other the elemental family. The latter was able to use wind-related skills. However, once in a class, her teacher mentioned by chance that the more talented moonlit beasts had a slight possibility of learning a light-related skill. She had always been among the best of students in the academy and she didn't get to be number 1 in her year for nothing. He has seen what I can do. Instead of giving up, he is going to fight me. Does he have a way to survive that move? Su Lingyu thought. At the time, the judge announced that the match had just begun. As soon as the judge finished speaking, coldness flashed over Su Lingyue's eyes. She gave orders quickly. Dragon's Roar. Perception. Penetrating Light Wave. 3 different skills were to be unleashed at the same time. Once again, the dragon's roar filled the entire venue. Prepared for this, the young man relied on one of his pet skills to close off his senses. That was a spiritual skill that his demon battle pet had picked up. Those two battle pets did not have very advanced bloodlines, but both were talented. That was why he had not given them up. The young man decided to fight back now that he could ignore the dragon's roar. However, right at that moment, a blazing light came into his eyes. The world in front of him turned into pure white. I can do this. He thought of the curved surface skill, but he still had his heart in his mouth. Then, he felt a sense of fatal danger. That beam of light was aiming toward the place where he actually was. Bang! The stage shook violently. The beam landed on the seal and the entire ground in the venue was trembling. The beam landed less than 10 centimeters away from him. The burning air reached him and the fear almost stopped his heart. Missed its target? The young man tried hard to turn around and saw the remaining marks on the seal left by the beam of light. Before he had enough time to gloat over his good luck, he had heard the judge announce that he had lost. That announcement landed on his chest like a hammer, making it difficult for him to breathe. He couldn't help but shout, "I haven't given up yet." The judge darted him a look. You would have died if she had not shown you mercy. Do you think a 7th rank skill could fool that dragon's 8th rank skill perception? The young man couldn't move. Su Lingyu was relieved after having heard she had won. This was what she had expected. Without further ado, she called the Moonfrost Dragon back and left. Again, she finished her opponent within an instant. And again, people shouted in joy for her. That beam of light not only defeated her opponent but also broke the curved surface in front of the young man, revealing his and his pet's true location. Some people thought the dragon had also missed its target as well. It turned out that the dragon was aiming at the true target. As for that gap of 10 cm. No kidding. The dragon was able to find out where you actually were from 3 meters away. Do you suppose the dragon could not deal with the 10 centimeters? At the staging area, Yu Weihan wore a troubled look as she saw Su Lingyu returning. As she sat there and watched the game, Yu Weihan finally had a sense of how shocking and splendid that skill was. She had to give up because of that skill. Su Yangying and Luo Fengtian congratulated Su Lingyu. They knew that it was highly likely that she would win this time, but neither had expected that it would be a quick battle once again. They had seen how the young man would usually fight. He was cruel and ruthless. Obviously, he had developed his style from his time in the barren area. However, such a style would not work when his opponent had absolute power. Take some rest. Su Yangying said some caring words to Su Lingyu. She had managed to end both battles quickly. Still, she must have gotten tired. She would have to try her best to stay in her prime state. Both Luo Fengtian and Yu Weihan's expressions changed. Su Lingyu had won. Then, next, she would have to fight the young master from the most powerful family in the Longjiang base city. That young man had put on a stunning show, even more outstanding than Yi Longtian's. As far as Luo Fengtian and Yu Weihan were able to tell, that young man should be one of the 3 participants most likely to win the championship. At the same time, Qin Shaotian stood up as Su Lingyu got off the stage. When he stood up, everyone focused on him. He had become the center of attention. The audiences had just finished giving out their shouts of joy. Soon, their passionate cheers came back. Qin Shaotian calmly left the staging area and hopped onto the stage. Everyone was looking forward to seeing him fighting for a second time. All the other participants concentrated their minds on the upcoming battle. This time, Qin Shaotian's battle also ended quickly. Again, he merely summoned the wind siren to increase his speed. The difference was that this time, his opponent had been prepared. Before the battle officially began, the opponent had called his pet to defend him, and he used all the defensive skills he could have used. That being said, the only benefit of doing so was to prolong the battle for a little bit of time. Qin Shaotian held his sword in one hand and dashed around the thistles and thorns growing out on the stage in a blur. Qin Shaotian managed to clear up all the obstacles in his way and approached his opponent. Apart from only being a handful of participants, most of them had merely seen a blur. Some people among the audience could only see Qin Shaotian's opponent launching various strikes, all of which were rendered ineffective but could not find where Qin Shaotian was at all. Eventually, Qin Shaotian had reached the young man who was hiding behind his shell. With one slash, Qin Shaotian had cut open the layers of defense and left a bloody mark on the young man's chest. Naturally and smoothly, the battle ended. Finally, the people in the audience finally returned to their senses and chanted for Qin Shaotian. After the judge announced the result, Qin Shaotian didn't leave the stage. He simply wiped the blood off from his sword and turned his sight to the staging area. The next match would be the defining one. His eyes were on a girl in the staging area. The winner of this defining match would be ranked among the top 10. Chapter 324, The Showdown. At the staging area, Su Lingyu sensed the look Qin Shaotian had cast her way. She knew that the most difficult time was at hand. She took a deep breath. She tried to calm herself down and focus her mind. She remembered what Su Ping had told her, keep absolute calmness on the stage at all times. The other way to interpret his words was, do not panic. Stay calm and we will win. She stood up. At this moment, everyone shifted their gazes from Qin Shaotian to her. The audience and the other participants in the staging area were all focusing their attention on the two. Everyone was aware that this would be the main showdown in Group D. Both of the participants had demonstrated strong abilities, terrifying even. If they had been in different groups, they would have won first place in their respective groups. And yet, since they were in the same group, only one of them could win. Su Yangying looked at the girl and said encouraging words, Su Lingyu, good luck. Su Yangying could feel that Su Lingyu was standing under the spotlight. She could feel the pressure even by merely sitting next to her. Luo Fengtian wore a serious look and kept his voice low. Good luck. Yu Weihan bit her teeth to make up her mind before she said to Su Lingyu, "You defeated me easily. Don't lose to anyone else." Yi Hao, who had been sitting somewhere else sulking over his argument with Luo Fengtian, came over. "Good luck to you," he said to Su Lingyu. Shu Kuang also walked over from the area where the students of the Ars Academy were sitting. "I wish you the best of luck." Touched by those words of encouragement, Su Lingyu bit her lips and clenched her fists. "I will win. I will." The second "I will" seemed to have been squeezed out of her teeth. Having said so, she turned around to where the family members were sitting. There, he was gazing at her with his crystal-clear eyes. He was smiling and giving her an encouraging look. All of a sudden, he winked at her in a playful way. The clouds of worry over her mind were suddenly dispersed. She could understand what he was telling her with his eyes. He was asking her to go for it. She smiled at him and turned around. After she said goodbye to Su Yangying and the others, Su Lingyu left the staging area. Amid all the intent eyes, she stepped onto the stage. Once she was there, the volume of the cheering increased yet again. Everyone in the venue was excited about the upcoming battle. The other participants in the staging area held their breaths and waited. That battle would be as important as a match among the last 10. Unaffected by the audience's emotions, Su Lingyu went to her area confidently and without haste. The judge had yet to announce the beginning of the match. She summoned the Moonfrost Dragon as soon as she stepped behind the red line. At the same time, she summoned the Phantom Flame Beast and had it stay close to her. The fact that she would summon her pet so quickly made people think that she was nervous and under much pressure. Differently from before, she had summoned a second pet. Many people had seen the Phantom Flame Beast before and they understood why she had done so. But those who had never seen her Phantom Flame Beast were definitely curious. Compared to the Moonfrost Dragon, the Phantom Flame Beast was not strong enough. In this critical battle, she should have summoned a pet stronger than the Moonfrost Dragon if she were to summon a second one. So, the Moonfrost Dragon should be her strongest pet, right? Many people had the same thought. Although disappointed, they found it understandable. After all, the Moonfrost Dragon was strong enough. It was a dragon that seemed to have just reached adulthood but was already able to use 9th rank skills and mobilize rich energy. The dragon was qualified to be her major pet. The audience was eager to see what pets Qin Shaotian would summon. Su Lingyue's performance was much better than the two people that Qin Shaotian had defeated. It should be about time for him to use his major pet. "I heard that someone promised you were going to win first place. You're not telling me that the dragon is your strongest pet, are you?" Qin Shaotian asked Su Lingyu after he checked the mutated dragon with both golden and silver scales. Su Lingyu was surprised that he would say anything to her. "You got a problem with that?" She frowned. This rude language took Qin Shaotian by surprise. In his entire life, no one had ever slighted him. After a momentary daze, he chuckled. "No, I don't have a problem with that. If so, let me see the true power of your dragon." Su Lingyu wore a concerned look. The fact that he could tell the dragon was hiding some skills was unexpected. Of course, that was nothing strange since the Moonfrost Dragon had been able to defeat her opponents within one move. Sure. She meant to let her dragon demonstrate its full power as well. Qin Shaotian was a formidable opponent. She had to ask the Moonfrost Dragon to do its utmost. Since they were both ready, the judge announced the beginning of the match. "Go!" Su Lingyu passed her instruction to the Moonfrost Dragon, "Do everything you can to defeat, or even kill him." The Moonfrost Dragon first lowered its head to Su Lingyu after it received the order. The dragon saw how determined she was from the look in her eyes. The dragon understood. The Moonfrost Dragon opened its mouth slightly and a gust of chilly air oozed out. Besides the chilly air, there was something else. The entire atmosphere on the stage changed suddenly. Qin Shaotian was about to take action when he noticed the oddness. He stopped what he was doing and looked. The judge felt something strange as well. Surprised, he cast a look at the dragon. He realized that his heart was racing and he couldn't control it. Why? Astonishment appeared in the judge's eyes. Phew! A heavy and cold air began to spread out from the Moonfrost dragon. The stage under its feet froze and the ice kept on creeping out to almost cover the entire stage. At the same time, a fortress of ice was formed with Su Lingyu and the phantom flame beast at the center. The fortress of ice was not built with the usual ice guardian skill. There, in front of the ice fortress, there seemed to be a man sitting down, wearing armor and holding a sharp spear. That was the 9th rank skill, Ice Goddess. The very best defense skill with ice. Everyone was in mute amazement. A 9th rank defense skill? That was to say, before he could defeat the dragon, Qin Shaotian wouldn't have a chance to hurt its master. Besides, if the Moonfrost dragon were to build itself a fortress, would Qin Shaotian be able to break down the ice? Qin Shaotian stared at the dragon with his mouth agape as the dragon unleashed the skill. But soon, he put himself together and wore a more serious look. Whoosh! Qin Shaotian lifted his hand. Another swirl opened up. He was about to summon another battle pet. Everyone watched with great expectation. Up until then, this was the first time that Qin Shaotian had ever summoned a pet besides the wind siren. Hot flames surged out from the pitch-dark swirl as if lava were spilling out. The next thing people saw was a hideous dragon head. That was the lava dragon. The 9th rarest dragon of all. People were struck dumb with astonishment. Qin Shaotian had summoned a rare dragon. The lava dragon was at a rank lower than the Moonfrost dragon, but that would not make a difference. It would all depend on which dragon was more powerful. The lava dragon was famous for its violence and cruelty. The lava dragon would dare to attack a dragon of higher rank. Only the 3 most powerful kinds of dragons could intimidate the lava dragon a bit. Chapter 325, Momentous Appearance. Roar! The lava dragon stepped over the red line and suddenly roared at the entire venue and at the Moonfrost dragon, as a strong territorial act. It seemed that the lava dragon was claiming that it would be the one dominating the match. A strong scorching aura was swept from its body, stopping the ground from freezing. The ice quickly melted and turned into white mist-like steam. At the same time, drops of magma-like body fluids flowed down from the lava dragon, seeping through the cracks in its scales and sliding to the ground, which added black marks to the floor. The intense heat stunned everyone. That is, an 8th rank lava dragon. This one hasn't only reached adulthood. It is definitely at the later stage of adulthood. Is this Qin Shaotian's major battle pet? How frightening! The dragon had astounded all in the venue. They could tell, whether from the dragon's size or momentum, that this lava dragon was not at the 7th rank, but the 8th rank. With this strength, the lava dragon could utterly crush many opponents. Even after summoning the lava dragon, Qin Shaotian did not appear to be relaxed at all. He still wore a serious look. He had the wind siren to increase both his and the lava dragon's speed. People could see that a heavy wind was swirling around them. Charge! A glint of coldness climbed over Qin Shaotian's eyes as he made a dash forward. Roar! The lava dragon was bellowing. The smaller dragon facing them fell into the lava dragon's sight. The lava dragon rushed on and kept on roaring. Everywhere the lava dragon had stepped on, ice would melt. Scorching lava was speeding out from its scales, and as the lava dragon ran, the hot fluid fell to the ground, leaving behind burning marks in many places. The lava dragon kept on pressing forward and directly plowed a path open through the ice to the Moonfrost dragon. At this very moment, the Moonfrost dragon slowly raised its head. That was a pair of dark silver dragon eyes that were as cold as an abyss. The coldness in those eyes seemed to be able to freeze the surrounding space. In the next moment, the chill in the eyes slowly receded, gradually being replaced by cruelty and violence. Buzzing, buzzing. Electric sparks were jumping around the Moonfrost dragon. In a weird way, the pieces of rubble were lifted off the ground and floated in the air. But soon, the dancing electric sparks would reduce all the small debris into dust. At the same time, Some dark energy seemed to be hidden amongst the electric arcs, and the dark energy contained the strength to tear apart the void. At the feet of Moonfrost Dragon, the stage around it was constantly breaking and disintegrating, unable to withstand the energy field released by the Moonfrost Dragon. Many types of energy mixed together, able to bring about destruction. Qin Shaotian, who was about to reach the Moonfrost Dragon, suddenly stopped due to fear. Astonishment appeared on his otherwise calm look. That was thunder and energy of demons? Since the Moonfrost Dragon had been born with the ice energy, did it mean that the Moonfrost Dragon had mastered 3 types of energy? The heartless lava dragon seemed to have sensed the danger. The violence in its eyes grew, and despite its fear, the lava dragon rushed on. Flaming roar! Bang! An emission of intense white heat came out from the lava dragon's mouth, and then the energy mass was launched like a missile. Bang! That was a 9th rank skill of the fire family, and it could crush anything in its path. However, as the energy mass was about to bump into the Moonfrost Dragon, something invisible stopped it. Wall of wind. An almost transparent cyan-colored shield emerged in front of the Moonfrost Dragon. Behind the shield, there seemed to be a vague figure that was holding the massive shield. 9th rank defense skill of the Wind family. For a moment, no one could make a sound. The Moonfrost Dragon, whose eyes had already been taken over by violence, appeared to have been enraged by the lava dragon's move. The Moonfrost Dragon waved its claws and bellowed at the sky. Roar! The dragon's roar echoed in the entire venue and even shattered several parts of the ceiling. The audience felt their ears hurt, as if the dragon had just shouted in their faces. The violent aura contained in the roar made everyone shiver. The shield over the stage had muffled some power off the roar so that it wouldn't inflict any tangible harm on those present. That being said, some of the more timid ones had already been so scared that they soaked their pants. There was a huge mess among the audience, and many were crying like ducks in a thunderstorm. Back to the stage. The Moonfrost Dragon's roar was not merely to deter the lava dragon. As the roar came out from the Moonfrost Dragon's mouth, a hurricane seemed to have been manifested. The lava dragon's legs were trembling, and it took a step back. The roar was not something the lava dragon was able to handle. Cruel as the lava dragon was, it was intimidated. Because of the dragon's roar, the lava dragon was having an illusion. The view in its eyes was changing. The Moonfrost Dragon, that should be much smaller in comparison, had grown in size to be a towering dragon. The lava dragon, on the other hand, was like a puny insect under the feet of the towering dragon. A puny insect that could be stomped to death at a moment's notice. The lava dragon could no longer see the face of the Moonfrost Dragon. All the lava dragon could feel was that the Moonfrost Dragon had cast a shadow over it, and in the shadow, the lava dragon could sense a fatal danger. Of course, if the lava dragon were in fact an insect, it would have fled already. But a lava dragon was a dragon nonetheless. The extreme fear had stimulated its will to protect its dignity as a dragon. Lava began to ooze out from its eyes. Once again, the lava dragon made a dash forward. Roar! The dragon roared. But this time, the lava dragon didn't mean to deter the Moonfrost Dragon, but to embolden itself. As the lava dragon roared, it could see that the Moonfrost Dragon was becoming much smaller and the horrifying illusion was fading away. The lava dragon could see the stage again. The negative impact caused by the Moonfrost Dragon's roar was disappearing. Yet, what the lava dragon saw moments before had left an everlasting mark. The lava dragon's roar woke up Qin Shaotian as well. He could not believe that he had been dazed for a second. The Icewing Dragon from the Mu family participant was not able to shock Qin Shaotian in the slightest. That was because he had experienced many types of dragon roars since an early childhood. Sometimes, he would even listen to a dragon's roar at close range. Usually, the dragon's roar would no longer exert any influence on him anymore. All he would feel was a bit of uneasiness. But he had never heard a dragon roar like that one. It wasn't how the Moonfrost Dragon roared before. Granted, the Moonfrost Dragon's roar was special already, but this one was even more shocking. Lava field! Worried, Qin Shaotian gave an order immediately. Roar! Having received the order from its master, the lava dragon knew what it needed to do. Its whole body was burning, oozing out hot lava, and at the same time, the lava dragon opened its mouth to spray out a stream of lava which was not targeted at the Moonfrost dragon, but the stage. A crack appeared on the stage at once. Some people familiar with dragons knew that the lava dragon was about to change the stage into a lava field which was more suitable for it. That was the right decision. It was just like the moment when the Moonfrost dragon breathed ice onto the stage at the beginning. A dragon would only display its fullest ability in settings it was more familiar with. However, as the lava field was coming into shape, the Moonfrost dragon suddenly took a step forward. The destructive force field made by several energies swept across the stage in an instant, and the lava on the ground was cleared away. Amidst the dust, vortices, and electric sparks, a blue bow and arrow slowly appeared in front of the Moonfrost dragon. There seemed to be a pair of invisible hands behind this bow and arrow, slowly pulling the bowstring back. Arrow of Wind. That, too, was a 9th rank skill but very rare. Only some dragons born with wind abilities and some rare pets of the element family could learn this skill. The usual 9th rank pets of the wind family would never get a chance to learn this skill. As the arrow was formed, flames and lightning were entwined around the arrow, and at the front end of the arrow, dark energy gushed out, dyeing the arrow black. An arrow of wind with a mixture of various types of energy. This was a 9th rank skill that the Moonfrost dragon had learned and adapted by itself. Chapter 326, A Taboo. As the arrow was discharged, everyone became jittery. Everyone, including the participants in the staging area, the higher-ups of the major families sitting in the front rows, and those from the municipal government found the arrow frightful. They had sensed danger from the arrow, which contained different kinds of energy. How was that even possible? All the powerful ones from the major families and the government were titled battle pet warriors? How could they feel stressed out in front of this dragon? On the stage. The judge was the closest to the match, aside from the actual participants. He, too, felt the arrow was dangerous. A gut feeling told him that he wouldn't be able to stop the arrow unless he exerted his full strength. He paled after such a realization. He was a titled battle pet warrior, and that was just a match between two young people. How could anyone use any skill that he could not deal with? Could it be that the skill was even mightier than those displayed at the 9th rank? Killing intent. Qin Shaotian felt a gruesome killing intent. Because of that killing intent, he shuddered in terror as if he had become the target of a hunter. The source of that killing intent came from the arrow on which different sorts of energy converged. He had a feeling that the space around the arrow was twisted and the arrow could disrupt everything. I cannot let the arrow hit me. But do I have to resort to my ace card right now? Roar! Bang! The Moonfrost dragon let out a sudden roar. The arrow of wind was discharged abruptly. There was a piercing, deafening noise accompanying the traveling arrow. It seemed that countless invisible and minuscule bits of substance suddenly burst in front of the arrow, followed by a shot that was fast to the extreme. Even an advanced battle pet warrior could not capture that blur, a blur that could bring about destruction. No! The judge was jolted awake. The arrow was targeting Qin Shaotian. If Qin Shaotian were to die there, he, as the judge, would be accused of dereliction of duty. He would never be able to offer a valid explanation to the Qin family. However, the judge's body was not able to follow his mind. The arrow was too fast. It was too late. No. Boom! The stage shook violently as well as the entire venue. Countless brilliant lights were gathered and burst out in a shining glow. Scorching air flows, lightning, thunder, hurricanes and dust storms. All kinds of manifestations akin to apocalyptic scenes appeared on the stage, and completely submerged Qin Shaotian and the lava dragon in front of him. All the people in the audience had lost their voices and the ability to react. That was the true power of a 9th rank skill. If it were not for the seal, they believed that the arrow would penetrate the entire venue. Roar! Before the scene of destruction could go away, and while everyone was still in shock because of the power of the arrow, a furious roar suddenly came out from the dust storm, with hysterical madness and viciousness shaking the entire stage. Immediately afterward, all the chaotic energy suddenly disappeared, as if swept away by an invisible big palm. Two majestic and hideous figures appeared, one tall and one short. The shorter one was the lava dragon standing beside Qin Shaotian. At the moment, the lava dragon was crouching on the ground. Crawling on the ground, to be more exact. A huge hole that penetrated its entire body appeared on its chest. Luckily, the hole missed its heart. Therefore, the lava dragon survived and was still breathing. Behind the hole in its chest were several sharp dark purple blades. Those blades were intertwined like a shield with burning and freezing marks left on it. The original form of that sharp blade was a hideous figure covered in black and purple, with a height of 7 or 8 meters. In terms of height, it was similar to the Moonfrost dragon, but since this figure was human-like, it appeared to be even more slender than the Moonfrost dragon. The creepiest thing was that the thing's arms and the rest of its body had sharp blades, tentacles, hooks, fangs, and strange mouths. Looking at the dark silhouette, one would mistake it for a beggar wearing rags. But the true form of those strips was extremely unsettling. Everyone was able to see that devilish figure. For a moment, the entire venue was as silent as a grave. That was. The judge felt his heart had skipped a beat. He was yelling to himself, has the Qin family lost their mind? Why would they give such a thing to their young master? Why? The dark purple battle pet emerging in front of everyone was of the demon family, which was evident from its hideous look. That pet was not just any random pet of the demon family. Of all the 9th rank battle pets, it was the second most violent, the bloody servant. What was such a pet capable of? It meant that when the bloody servant reached its peak, of all the beasts at the peak of the 9th rank, the bloody servant would be considered intimidating. Only a handful of beasts, or only those above it at the legendary level, were able to overwhelm the bloody servant. The bloody servant was even rarer than the Inferno dragon. That being said, no one was envious of the master of a bloody servant. The more terrifying thing about the bloody servant other than its cruelty was the fact that owning the pet could backfire on the master. A long time in the past, there was this saying among battle pet warriors, and that saying was later recorded in the textbooks. It went like this: if you have a bloody servant, when you are seriously injured and on the verge of dying, you'd better not summon this pet because it will only make your death come sooner and in a more tragic way. After the bloody servants began to be taken as battle pets, the tragedies happening because of owning them had been many. They would either harm their masters or lose control in battle. When the bloody servants lost control in a battle, they would not harm their masters, but they would hurt those around the battle pet warrior. In some matches, the rules stipulated that the participants whose battle pet lost control would lose their matches by default. Such a battle pet, which was almost forbidden from appearing, was actually in the Longjiang base city, right there on the stage. The pet's owner was a young master from the Qin family, a young man with a promising future. The judge could not understand this at all. He was not the only one confused. Under the stage, at the front rows, many powerful warriors from the major families and the government were sending curious looks to the Qin family. They all saw the old man of the Qin family wearing a smile and a mysterious look on his weathered face. That man? So it is. Dumb dogs are dangerous. Qin family. They discussed for a bit and then turned their focus back to the stage. Those at the staging area were still in silence. They were so frightened that their mouths hung ajar. No one had expected that they would see such a pet there. The bloody servant. Good heavens! Was this Qin Shaotian's ace card? The members of the Liu family were taken aback. Especially Liu Jianchen. He felt both scared and glad. Yes, he was the lucky one. Luck was part of one's strength as well. It was good that he didn't have to fight this freak. He wasn't sure whether he could fight a lava dragon while dealing with a monster that could lose control at any second. The calmness had faded away from Liu Qingfeng's face. There was a grim look in his eyes and he was biting his teeth. They were both young masters in their respective families, but Qin Shaotian and his bloody servant had made Liu Qingfeng understand that behind an able man there were always other able men. He had not fought against Qin Shaotian yet, but he knew that the chance of him winning was slim. He would have to count on miracles to win. Damn it! He clenched his fists. At the same time, those of the Yi family were still in shock. I thought I was crazy enough. But the Qin family... Yi Longtian mumbled to himself. Fear was visible in his eyes. He hadn't been considering Qin Shaotian as one of his most formidable enemies for the following matches. Qin Shaotian was a dangerous man indeed. The will to fight was burning in Yi Longtian. Come on and let's fight. To the Mu family. The Liu family disciples looked awful. The one who was defeated by Qin Shaotian was shivering. In the meantime, he was happy to see that Qin Shaotian did not summon this thing to fight him. Otherwise, whether he could make it back alive would have been uncertain. Of course, given his strength, Qin Shaotian didn't have the need to use the bloody servant on him. The lava dragon would have been more than enough. Look at the size and the energy of the bloody servant. It should be close to the 9th rank, a strong-built young man said after a moment of silence. He was sitting next to Mu Chen as the latter's guardian. At the same time, he was regarded as the one most likely to win the championship. He was Mu Yuanshou. The pet's rank is twice as high as that of Qin Shaotian's. That is the best a human spirit can manage, Mu Chen mumbled in shock. To master a pet at a rank twice as high would mean the pet could easily get out of control, not to mention the pet was the most brutal and ruthless of all pets from the demon family. It was as if Qin Shaotian were carrying a bomb that could explode and hurt both himself and others at the same time. Why would the Qin family put him at such risk? Mu Chen could not understand. Soon, the number 1 academy in the subcontinent district will start the new semester. Is the Qin family planning on? An idea popped into Mu Chen's mind. He seemed to have found an answer. He felt the pressure. If Qin Shaotian could achieve what he wanted, then for the following decades, the Qin family would become stronger than ever. By then, it would be hard to say whether the Mu family would be able to keep their present status. It would be uncertain whether there would be a place for the Mu family. Back on the stage. As the bloody servant came out, a chilly air had been cast over the entire stage. The horrifying pet silenced many people. Although knowing that the seal could protect them, many people still decided to hold their breaths. As the bloody servant got rid of the shield it had made out of its claws, Qin Shaotian emerged behind the bloody servant. There was not a scratch on him. However, he no longer appeared to be as carefree as before. He wore a grave expression and cold killing intent came into his eyes. Tear it apart. Qin Shaotian drew his blade slowly. The bloody servant which was standing there quietly raised its head. At first glance, its head looked like a human head, but then its face began to show cracks. Those weren't scars. Sharp teeth were slightly exposed. Its entire head could be opened to eat the prey in one bite. At this moment, above its head, from where the human eyes should be, 2 scarlet rays of light slowly emerged, which became brighter and brighter. The bloody servant gradually revealed its bloodthirsty, cruel, and hideous nature. To tear it apart. Whoosh! The bloody servant shook slightly and then it dashed out. Even without the wind siren's help, the bloody servant was so fast that people could only see a blur. Since the bloody servant was at a high rank, the wind siren's help would be of little use. Along the way, the cracked ground looked as if it were being cut by blades made of air currents, and a white wave of air was set off. The air currents caused by movement alone were already fatal. In an instant, the bloody servant had reached the Moonfrost Dragon. Those under the 9th rank would think that the bloody servant had teleported. The crimson eyes that were full of cruelty and the silver eyes of a dragon made contact. Chapter 327, Cruelty. Boom! The eye contact lasted 1/100th of a second. In the next moment, with a sudden burst of sound, the bloody servant showed its most ferocious and wild side. The strip-like limbs were extended, and with extraordinary speed and strength, the Bloody Servant hugged the Moonfrost Dragon. The Bloody Servant was good at close-range combat and could be compared to an assassin. A rare pet like this would be excellent in every way, but such a pet would still have a skill that it was best at. A Bloody Servant would be more proficient in exerting destructive force. The people in the audience were nervous, afraid that the Moonfrost Dragon being torn into pieces would be the next thing they would see. They did hear a noise. But following the noise were some snowflakes dancing around. Before the noise vanished, the Bloody Servant that had just latched itself onto the Moonfrost Dragon suddenly recoiled as if just having touched something extremely hot. The Bloody Servant leaped back and landed in a place 10 meters away. What? Standing close by, Shaotian was about to help out the Bloody Servant. Suddenly, he sensed the Bloody Servant's feelings, which made him frown. He felt that the surging violence in the Bloody Servant had died down a bit. The negative and twisted killing intent in the Bloody Servant's consciousness had come to a halt for a brief second. For a moment there, Shaotian did not need to be constantly trying to suppress the Bloody Servant's thirst for blood. What happened? Shaotian felt mentally disturbed. As the snowflakes vanished, Shaotian saw the Moonfrost Dragon which should have been wounded by the Bloody Servant. However, the pet was completely unharmed. What? Shaotian could not believe this. The Bloody Servant was fast. How could the Moonfrost Dragon fend off the strike? How? He thought of the goddess of ice. But how could the Moonfrost Dragon build up that shield within such a short span of time? Unless the Moonfrost Dragon used the reserved energy within its body to construct the shield. But that would have been even more far-fetched. The energy that a 9th rank skill would need could exhaust a dragon that had officially reached the 9th rank. Not to mention that this Moonfrost Dragon was just one that had barely reached adulthood at the 7th rank. All those thoughts flashed past Shaotian's mind in an instant. He pulled himself together and stopped badgering over such doubts. The Moonfrost Dragon could have used its energy or something else. Either way, he would find out when he struck the Moonfrost Dragon a few more times. If the Moonfrost Dragon was indeed using its individual energy, then he would make the Moonfrost Dragon use up every bit of it. Charge! Shaotian ordered again. At the same time, he waved his hand and summoned another battle pet. That was the 4th one now. The audience stared dumbfounded at the swirl. Did Shaotian have other and more powerful battle pets? Soon, the audience realized that this time, the pet was of a healing category, but it had a high-ranked bloodline. It was a Nature Guardian, which was at the upper position of the 9th rank. The pet was like a towering tree. Its upper half was a 10-meter-tall crown and the lower half consisted of vines and roots. Judging by its size and other features, the Nature Guardian had just reached the 8th rank or so. 4 other participants, not even their major pets would have been able to reach the 8th rank. I think is trying to treat the lava dragon. It is understandable that a healing pet would be added into the mix. That is a must. Oh no, when the lava dragon is able to stand again, it'll be 2 against 1. The Moonfrost Dragon is doomed. Everyone could see that something was changing. They looked forward to the next round, excited and nervous. When the Nature Guardian appeared, the tentacles under its body were immediately extended. From the brown withered vine-like roots, small golden tentacles like new buds crawled onto the chest of the wounded lava dragon squatting on the ground. The golden tentacles contained rich life essence, which could heal wounds quickly. With the help of the Nature Guardian, the gaping injury on the lava dragon was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Dragons were born to be strong and vigorous, which was made more evident than ever at this moment. Even with a hole in its chest, the lava dragon could be rescued. While the healing was in progress, something else was also happening. The Bloody Servant extended all of its limbs and oddly got onto the ground, both like a spider and a hunter in the forest at the same time. That was the position the Bloody Servant would take when it was ready to fight with all its might. At this scene, Shaotian frowned. Boom! Boom! All of a sudden, 2 beams of light reached the Bloody Servant. The Bloody Servant suddenly opened 6 bloodthirsty eyes. Including the previous 2, the bloody servant had a total of 8 eyes. At the moment the light beam came, the bloody servant suddenly bounced up, and then a thick dark mist gushed out around its body. The bloody servant turned in midair, and suddenly rushed towards the Moonfrost dragon. The dark mist all over its body approached the Moonfrost dragon first while the bloody servant was trying to reach the dragon. A ghostly giggle was heard, and at the same time, it resembled a kind of a blade slitting sound, very harsh. Even with the seal, the audience still felt intense discomfort, and some people even began to feel dizzy, wanting to throw up after this perturbing noise. That was the bloody servant's skill. It was almost as deterring as a dragon's roar. As the giggling continued, from the dark mist burst out many flames, hellish flames. The temperature of the flames was not high. Rather, the flames carried a coldness that could consume everything. When the 2 skills were unleashed, the bloody servant began its attack. The bloody servant's every sharp appendage started to dance around. The sharp blades were covered with evil energy that could make the blades even more dangerous. At the same time, with evil energy, the sharp blades had the ability to corrode, weaken, and penetrate. Even a dragon would be cut open. The moment the bloody servant began to move in closer to the Moonfrost dragon, cruelty flashed in the latter's silver eyes. Bang! The ground caved in all of a sudden, as if an invisible force was smashing the ground. That was a 9th rank skill of the stone family, Super Gravity Field. In comparison with the 7th rank Gravity Field, the Super Gravity Field was able to make most beasts under the 9th rank collapse to the ground. The moment the Super Gravity Field was manifested, the stage trembled as well as the entire venue. The bloody servant paused for an instant, a split of a second. The pet was quite adaptable. It not only managed to fight off the effect but had become used to the gravity. Being one of the best close combat pets, the bloody servant was resilient. Still, the Moonfrost dragon had grabbed the bloody servant. That happened faster than anyone could imagine. Before the bloody servant could understand what happened, a large, fierce-looking mouth had come into view. Chapter 328, The Dragon's Might. The bloody servant seemed to be surprised. It never knew that another creature could show tusks at it. Showing tusks was always what the bloody servant would do. At this critical moment, the bloody servant wiggled violently. Sharp blades were discharged toward the mouth and eyes of the Moonfrost dragon. PFF. The Moonfrost dragon moved its head rapidly toward the bloody servant. Despite all the sharp blades that were coming its way, the Moonfrost dragon tried to bite the head of the bloody servant. The scales on the Moonfrost dragon's face were slit open. Blood oozed out. At the same time, the Moonfrost dragon snapped at the bloody servant's head though it was trying to move away. The Moonfrost dragon chewed the head and let out some muffled roars. Then, the Moonfrost dragon raised its head suddenly. A sound of flesh and bones being torn apart was heard. The Moonfrost dragon had ripped the bloody servant's head off. The bloody servant's muscles and blood vessels were strong. But even so, the Moonfrost dragon managed to yank the head off. Blood was spilling everywhere. One bite and the bloody servant had been beheaded. That scene was soul-shattering. It was as if the world had stopped just because of that. Roar! When that ruthless dragon bellowed again, people finally came back to their senses. They were so appalled that their eyes stared woodenly and their jaws became slack. The Moonfrost dragon had bitten the bloody servant's head off when the latter was said to be the best in close-range combat. No one could believe this, but that was what had happened. Crack! Crack! The Moonfrost dragon clamped its upper and lower jaws to chew the huge head in its mouth. Blood was constantly oozing out from its teeth. The Moonfrost dragon's silver and golden scale-covered neck had been tainted red with blood. Its elegance had vanished completely. The Moonfrost dragon had turned into a threatening monster. It was said that compared to other dragons, the Moonfrost dragon was mild and gentle. But nothing about this Moonfrost dragon was gentle. The Moonfrost dragon was chewing when all of a sudden, it stopped and cast a glance downward. Bang, bang, bang. Many sharp blades flew out and landed on the Moonfrost dragon's head instantly. What? The audience was struck dumb with astonishment. Many participants in the staging area were staring in bewilderment as well. Some even stood up with open mouths. The bloody servant mobilized its sharp blades again even after being beheaded. The bloody servant survived. Gulp, gulp. Blood around the bloody servant's neck was moving. A ball of flesh came into being. Gradually, blood receded from that ball of flesh and some crimson eyes opened up. Another head. The eyes on this head were fixed on the Moonfrost dragon, which was in danger. Its head and neck were surrounded by the sharp blades, which were so sharp that they cut into the Moonfrost dragon's scales. Blood was spilling out. People could not help but hold their breaths at this frightening scene. That was a fast twist. This time, it seemed that the Moonfrost dragon would be the one to be beheaded. The judge was also staring in astonishment. He never thought that the bloody servant could have such tenacious vitality. No wonder the bloody servant was the best in close-range combat. The judge turned his look to the Moonfrost dragon. Entangled by the sharp blades, the Moonfrost dragon was unable to move at all. Its death would come in an instant. At this moment, to give up would be the best for the dragon. However, the Moonfrost dragon's master was still curled up within that shield. The judge even wondered if the girl knew what had happened at all. Hiss Tilda. A crack in the head of the bloody servant opened up a bit, revealing the sharp teeth and a tongue that was covered in mucus and giving out a dead fish smell. The bloody servant was licking this dragon head. The bloody servant's licking was gentle as if it treasured the dragon's head. But the next second, the bloody servant suddenly bit on the dragon's head. All the cracks in the bloody servant's head opened up and it used its head, which was like a blossoming flower, to wrap up the dragon's head. No. Many girls in the audience had turned their heads away. They could not stand to watch what was coming next. Finish it! Standing in the distance, Shaotian gave his order. He looked at the lava dragon. Its wound had recovered to a large extent. Immediately, Shaotian told the lava dragon to build him a lava armor and cast some flame force on him. The flame force adhered to his blade and he wore the lava armor. At the same time, inside the lava armor, he had on a life shield that he had the Nature Guardian put on him. The life shield was a 9th rank defense skill and could only withstand one strike no matter how powerful the strike was. The life shield could fend off a strike at the peak of the 9th rank and at the same time, a 7th rank skill could crush the life shield. Charge! Shaotian dashed forward. His target was not the Moonfrost dragon, but the goddess of ice. 9th rank defense? Him. He sneered. He had cracked such shields before. Within the split of a second, he had reached that layer of ice. The blade was burning because of the flame force. He wielded the sword. Some cracks appeared on the layer of ice. At the same time, blades of ice extended out. That was an automatic mechanism to fight back. Though the goddess of ice was generally a defense mechanism, it could attack as well. Shaotian jumped from side to side to find a gap. The ice blades moved fast, but with the lava armor, Shaotian remained unharmed. Next to him, the bloody servant still had the Moonfrost dragon's head in its mouth. The bloody servant had wrapped all of its limbs around the Moonfrost dragon. The bloody servant was moving its mouth and teeth as if trying to rip the dragon's head off. Shaotian attacked the goddess of ice for a moment when he realized something. He jumped out from the attack range and turned back. The bloody servant seemed to be unable to tear off the Moonfrost dragon's head. Why? At the same time, the audience could tell that something was off. Where was the beheading? Shaotian was the first to tell that this was not right. He put his guards up. Retreat! He stepped backward quickly. Bang! All of a sudden, the rain of blood poured down. The bloody servant's head exploded as if something had shattered it. At the same time, the Moonfrost dragon's head was revealed. The silver in its eyes had turned into a golden color. The golden scales on the Moonfrost dragon seemed to have been activated. Divine energy. Roar! The Moonfrost dragon roared into the sky, and that roar reached high and shook the seal around the stage. In the meantime, the Moonfrost dragon lifted its claws and tore off the limbs around its body. All of the sharp blades were ripped into pieces. The Moonfrost dragon stepped forward. The ground quivered. Rage. At this moment, everyone could tell that the dragon was burning with wrath. That was the dragon's wrath that could turn the entire world upside down. The Moonfrost dragon's scales had turned into pure golden color, just like a legendary five-clawed golden dragon. The five-clawed golden dragon was the most terrifying dragon of all. A dragon like that would be even harder to see than a legendary battle pet warrior. No one could make a sound. Ice and flames were mixed. The two forces swept across from under the Moonfrost dragon's feet. A giant hand of fire and ice was reaching to the other side of the stage and pounded on the ground. Qin Shaotian could not believe this. For the first time, fear appeared on Qin Shaotian's face. No. No way. The dragon's killing intent, cruelty, and violence was 10 times stronger than the bloody servant. The fierce energy raged. Qin Shaotian's hair was blown back and all he could see in his eyes were the mixture of ice and fire. Then, he noticed that before knowing, the life shield within the lava armor had cracked. The dragon's roar had penetrated through the lava armor directly. If it were not for the life shield, Qin Shaotian wondered how seriously wounded he would be. The dragon's roar was not a physical attack that the lava armor could fend off, but more of a spiritual attack. How could there be a monster like this? Qin Shaotian was in a daze, but only for a brief second. He came back to his senses and gave an order. A roar came from behind him. The lava dragon leaped forward and once again, defended its master with its huge body. The hole had not completely healed yet. Still, the lava dragon stood in front of its master as a huge wall. At the same time, a wall of fire and a fire shield emerged in front of the lava dragon. However, the storm of ice and fire was times more ruthless than anything else the Moonfrost dragon had done before. In an instant, the storm had ripped apart the wall of fire and the fire shield failed to last for not even half a second. The lava dragon had merely reached the 8th rank. It was trying to use a 9th rank skill but could not fully demonstrate the actual strength of those skills. When all the defensive mechanisms had failed, the only thing that could protect Qin Shaotian would be the lava dragon itself. Bang! The lava dragon did not step back. Soon, the ice and fire had swallowed it. When the storm receded, the dragon fell. It was a mass of bruises and was barely breathing. Tears began to fill Qin Shaotian's eyes. When he looked up with his rage and killing intent-filled eyes, what leaped into his sight stunned him still. Behind the Moonfrost dragon was a world of ice. The goddess of ice that Qin Shaotian managed to weaken had been repaired. It was ice under the Moonfrost dragon's feet and even the seal behind was frozen. Icicles extended from the ice on the seal and the icicles were over 10 meters long with a total number of dozens. When they were discharged together, the icicles could be as powerful as dozens of missiles. That was Ice Prison, a skill at the peak of the 9th rank. Not even the rare beasts of the ice family could have learned or used this most powerful 9th rank skill. The icicles represented merely the prelude of what was going to happen next. Chapter 329, Losing. The moment the ice prison appeared, someone stood up, utterly astounded. That is not possible. What on earth? What rank is this dragon? Ice prison. The skill will exhaust the dragon's energy. Anyways, with the energy stored by the dragon, will it be able to make it to the last moment? The disciples of the Yi family, the Liu family, and the Mu family were all wearing stunned expressions. Yi Longtian, Mu Chen, and Liu Qingfeng had stood up from their seats. The dragon was more powerful than they could have ever imagined. They thought that Qin Shaotian's bloody servant was horrifying enough, but it was still no match for the dragon. The dragon was using the best skill of the ice family. Was the dragon trying to blow up the entire venue? At the front rows, the powerful warriors of the major families and the government had grave expressions. If it weren't for the fact that they knew the ages of the two participants, they would have never believed that this was a fight amongst people of the young generation. The match was more like that between titled battle pet warriors. Qin Shaotian was an outstanding participant already. But the girl was even more so. She was a genius. The master of the dragon is the girl who claims is going to win the championship, right? Someone from the Jew family offered to point this out. He was asking a question, but the smile in his eyes made it clear that, yes, he was sowing discord. If it weren't for the Liu family, why would that terrifying guy attack our Jew family? Now, you're next. It's your turn to taste this bitterness. Hearing this man's words, the others turned their sights over to the Liu family. Given the strength of the dragon, while it could not be said for sure that the girl would win first place, it was safe to say that she could win at least second place. Many more participants had not taken their turns yet, but it had been quite unlikely that freaks as those three would compete in the Longjiang Bay City all at the same time. The dragon. Would the Liu family be able to defeat the girl? The elder from the Liu family could feel all the looks on him. He was not willing to make a fool of himself, so he had to hide his anger, but the clenched fists revealed his indignation. He hated that pixie pet store to the guts. The other person he hated was Liu Yuan. That good-for-nothing. He had so many ways to compete and to develop his business, but he just had to go against that store. He didn't even try to research that store beforehand. If the master of the dragon indeed won the championship, then the Primo stores that they had been operating for dozens of years would have to close doors. Primo would lose its reputation, and then that store would step on them and rise. The Liu family would become a laughingstock. They would lose all credibility. Having seen the terrifying strength demonstrated by the Moonfrost dragon, the elder now had little confidence in their young master. The only person he could count on was Qin Shaotian, who was a freak himself. Kill the dragon. That was the first time that the elder from the Liu family would cheer for the Qin family. Sitting next to him was the old man from the Qin family. At the moment, he was in no mood to think what the elder from the Liu family was thinking. The scheming smile had disappeared from the old man. He stared at the stage with a deep frown. He never imagined that Qin Shaotian would have to resort to the bloody servant, not to mention that the bloody servant was unable to defeat the dragon. The ice prison. He wondered if the dragon could build up a complete ice prison or whether it could only make an early form of the ice prison. On the stage, Qin Shaotian wore a troubled look. He couldn't figure out how a 7th-rank dragon could use this skill. Was this merely an early form? However, he could tell from the sharpness of the icicles that even if this were an early form, they were more than enough to kill beasts of the titled level. Qin Shaotian bit his teeth. Did he have to use the secret skill here? If he used it and won, it would be worth it. While he was still thinking, the Moonfrost dragon didn't stop, not giving Qin Shaotian any chances for him to give up. The icicles were launched almost the moment they came into being. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The dragon bellowed. Energy surged, boiled, and converged in front of the golden Moonfrost dragon. The arrow of wind appeared once again. This was not supposed to be a skill that a dragon would be good at, but the Moonfrost dragon was using it with proficiency. Even worse, the figure standing behind the bow was more tangible this time. It wasn't the cyan shadow anymore, but a person who was golden all around. The figure gave out a holy and faint glow as the figure raised its hands and pulled the string. A golden arrow emerged and was becoming more and more tangible. As the icicles had reached the place where Qin Shaotian was. The moment the icicles arrived, a black swirl appeared by Qin Shaotian all of a sudden. Then, the icicles drowned him. Bang, bang, bang. The 10-meter-long icicles smashed onto him like falling meteorites. The stage shook violently and caved in. The entire venue was trembling. Huge cracks climbed over the walls, making many among the audience scream in fear. Everyone felt their seats were moving up and down as if they were traveling on a rocky road. This could be a disaster. If it weren't for the seal, the ice prison could have destroyed half a city, not to mention a puny venue. After this round, the shock stopped for a moment. The thick icicles pierced into the ground aslant. The entire stage had been frozen. But in the middle, there was an area that was not frozen in ice, covered in the crushed ice pieces. 3 huge figures were standing together, the bloody servant, the nature guardian, and a dragon. That was not the lava dragon, but the earthen dragon. A dragon with a 9th rank bloodline and the strongest defense among all dragons. The appearance of the 3 dragons astonished everyone. They managed to protect Qin Shaotian from the attack. The 3 pets survived that horrifying strike. The most unbelievable thing. Qin Shaotian had 2 dragons? What? Some audiences even wanted to hurl out some swear words. What was wrong with the world? They had never even touched the fur of a dragon, let alone owning a dragon. Of course, whether dragons had fur or not was another matter. The point was that they had never touched a dragon. But Qin Shaotian had 2 of them. Given the strengths of all his battle pets, that bloody servant was the most furious and should be the major pet unless the crazy Qin Shaotian had other pets that were more powerful. Either way, the 2 dragons were clearly secondary pets. Many people were swearing in jealousy. Plop tilde. The earthen dragon trembled a bit and then all of a sudden, collapsed to the ground. Blood was seeping out from scales on this dark yellowish body. On its wings and in its chest, the wounds were so deep that bones were revealed. Because of the ice in the wounds, the boiling dragon blood had stopped flowing, preventing the wounds from healing. The earthen dragon fell and the nature guardian was on the verge of collapse as well. The green glow on the nature guardian had died down. Its crown cracked. Many leaves and vines were frozen. Treating the lava dragon had used up much energy. At the moment, the nature guardian was no longer able to heal the earthen dragon. If it weren't for the fact that the bloody servant had cut most of the icicles, the earthen dragon and the nature guardian would have died. Qin Shaotian breathed in relief while standing behind the 3 battle pets. Eventually, he survived. He took a deep breath. He was going to put away the earthen dragon as well as the lava dragon. While risky, he planned on using that ability. It was his turn to fight back now. While he was trying to call back the earthen dragon, he darted a look across the stage. This glance made his heart skip a beat. A beam of golden light appeared in his sight. He had a feeling that his soul had left his body. Death. That was a feeling of death. That burning but sacred golden arrow had brought back the sense of death to him, which he had felt for the first time in his childhood. That memory was re-emerging. While facing that golden arrow, it seemed that he had become that vulnerable kid again. "Stop it!" someone shouted all of a sudden. A man in a dark robe dashed to the seal. "We give up." That voice was full of rage. The judge was surprised to find that the Qin family would admit defeat and that one of the famous elders in the Qin family was the one shouting those words. That was a titled battle pet warrior at the upper position. The judge reacted quickly. He dashed to Qin Shaotian. Not sure if the girl could hear him if he merely used this throat, the judge tried to amplify his voice by using spiritual power as well. He made the announcement. "Qin Shaotian lost." That voice echoed in the venue, shocking the audience. Having said that, the judge breathed in relief. Immediately afterward, he felt a chill. He realized that hardly had his voice faded away when the arrow was discharged. Chapter 330, Losing Control? Stunning show. Bang! The golden arrow carried an intimidating force. The sudden discharge caused a shrill noise. Even the air in front of the arrow was twisted. The arrow was going to reach him the next second. The judge began to scream to himself. What the hell is this? He could not even breathe. He was afraid of this arrow. When he was observing from the sidelines, he had not gotten a direct feeling. And yet, the arrow was coming towards him. He felt like the arrow would pierce him through. He had to stop the arrow. Boom! Profound astral power swarmed out of him. At the same time, 2 swirls appeared right ahead. Before his battle pets had crawled out, he had already given them orders. Many stone walls were built up. In the meantime, the astral powers had converged and formed many shields. Last but not least, the judge resorted to a secret skill to add another shield layer. The last shield had just been manifested when the golden arrow made contact. The arrow had yet to touch the wall on the outside and yet, the wall had cracked. The moment the arrow touched the wall, it turned into dust like paper burnt in a fire. The arrow kept pressing on because nothing could stop it. The loud explosive noise was enough to wake the dead. The judge started dumbfounded, and he was so nervous that his heart almost stopped pounding. Bang, 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 bang. The walls cracked one after another. It was as if the golden arrow had traveled from another world. The violence on the arrow was soul-shattering. The judge had never seen anything like this before. The many astral shields were blasted open within a second as if they were merely glass mirrors. The arrow had not reached him, but the wind was stirred up, blowing his hat away. Roar! From one of the swirls came out an angry shout. Then a huge hand reached out, trying to grab the arrow. Bang! That scale-covered arm was reduced into pieces of flesh the moment it touched the arrow. Although the arm had been blasted into pieces, it did manage to slow down the arrow a bit. Thanks to that, the judge had managed to finish building the last shield with his secret skill. That was a bell with a golden hue, and it shielded the judge within. Bang! The arrow bumped into the bell. Due to the strong impact, the bell cracked open after merely half a second. The arrow had penetrated the bell. The judge was knocked away, falling to the ground behind Shaotian like a sandbag. Because of the ice on the ground, the judge slipped away by hundreds of meters and only came to a stop after he bumped against the seal by the edge. Several pieces of ice were falling from the seal. A hush fell among the audience. Perfect silence prevailed in the entire venue. The participants in the staging area could not move at all. Not even a titled battle pet warrior could stop the arrow. What kind of dragon was that? The elder from the Qin family who shouted that they would admit defeat was just as astounded as anyone else. He finally breathed in relief when he saw that Qin Shaotian was safe. Only then did he realize that he had been soaked by cold sweat. The elder was glad that he had shouted in time. Otherwise, the arrow would have killed Qin Shaotian for sure. On the stage, Qin Shaotian gulped. Finally, he summoned enough courage and turned around to look at the judge. After a glance, Qin Shaotian turned pale from fright. Half of the judge's body was tainted red with blood. He had lost one arm. And that torn arm was nowhere to be seen. A titled battle pet warrior had been mauled by the arrow. Sure, the judge was facing the arrow relying on his own strength without using his pets as shields, but he was a titled battle pet warrior. Damn it! The judge helped himself up by using his astral power, and he spat out some blood together with some pieces of internal organs. He felt that his chest had turned numb and painful, and at the same time, it was burning. He darted a look at his broken arm with an awful expression. Just then, he thought he had experienced death. It was surprising that he would have to face death in this place. He had years of experience in battles which enabled him to move away at the last critical moment, having managed to protect his critical parts. Otherwise, there would have been a hole in his chest at the moment. What the hell? The judge was scared and angry. He had thought that this was an easy task. How could such a job be life-threatening? He turned to see the dragon, which he wished he had not done because this look almost scared the wits out of him. The bow was still there in front of the dragon. Behind the bow, the golden, vague figure was slowly stringing the bow, and a new, golden arrow was coming into being. The judge's pupils contracted in extreme fear. Again? Was the dragon losing control? The judge could not believe this. What would this monster do if it lost control? It was understandable that the dragon would lose control given its strength. Even a 7th-rank battle pet warrior would find it hard to master such a dragon, let alone a 6th-rank battle pet warrior. SHT! Open up the seal. Come on, the judge shouted like crazy. He couldn't do this again. He couldn't. He realized that he did not have the strength to fight off the arrow. That was not an attack with a strength at the intermediate position of the 9th rank, but the upper position. Or even the peak. The staff outside stood in a daze for a second because none of them could have anticipated this. They couldn't believe that this was a match between two young people. The titled battle pet warrior had failed to contain the situation. To make it worse, The judge almost lost his life. Seeing the injured arm and the miserable state the judge was in, the staff came back to their senses. They sprang to work. They had understood that the dragon in there was a monster. A monster that was losing control. To be kept in the same place with a monster like this, the judge was bound to hurl out bad words. The working staff believed that they would have certainly used worse words if they were the ones inside. The seal was set up with the help of the most advanced devices so that the seal could fend off an attack at the peak of the 9th rank. Only legendary-level strength could have shattered the seal. The device's price was an astronomical figure. In a muddle, the working staff initiated the program, but it would take time. The elder from the Qin family turned deathly pale to see that the dragon was preparing for the next attack. Again, he had his heart in his mouth and he was having trouble breathing. A dragon that was losing control? That thought made his heart tremble. For the past few decades, Qin Shaotian was the most talented young master in the Qin family. Was his doom near? The elder from the Qin family placed his hands on the seal. He wished he could dash to the stage and stop the attack, but the seal was firm. It could not only withstand attacks from the inside but from the outside as well. The elder failed to break the seal. "Open it up now." The golden arrow was becoming more and more tangible. The elder shouted in fear. At the moment, no trace of grace was left in him, nor the impressive and dignified manner that should be found in a titled battle pet warrior. The death of Qin Shaotian would practically mean the doom of the Qin family. No amount of impressive and dignified manners could help now. The working staff were already working in a hurry and his shout didn't make things any better. On the stage, Qin Shaotian stared at the golden arrow and his mind had stopped working. He watched as the golden arrow came into being bit by bit. The closer the golden arrow was to completion, the closer he was to his death. He would die? He would die here? Because of this crappy match? Compared to his life, not even the global championship, not to mention a place among the top 10 in the Longjiang base city, none were worth mentioning. What would he do with the good ranking when he no longer had his life? Besides, the best the global champion could get was some lessons given by legendary battle pet warriors. What was the good in that if he wasn't alive? Also, he had to take care of the Qin family. That was his responsibility for the next few decades. Losing his life there would be ridiculous. So ridiculous that his death would be told by the major families as a joke in the coming years. Many ideas were flashing past his mind. He felt there was a buzzing noise in his head. Soon, clarity came back to his eyes. He was biting his tongue. Profound astral powers were swarming out. He was ready to resort to that final move. Some secret skills could harm his life, but no matter, he would do it anyway. He couldn't sit still waiting for death. He would fight even if the hope was slim. When he was ready to unleash his skill, all of a sudden, the glow faded away from the golden arrow in front of the dragon. Then, the golden arrow disappeared gradually and turned into a puff of golden energy that retracted back into the dragon. The golden color in the eyes of the violent dragon slowly changed back to the silvery color. That turn of events silenced everyone. The dragon was brought back into control? The judge, Qin Shaotian, the elder from the Qin family as well as many others could not believe this. A dragon could be brought back into control? Without anyone helping? What kind of will and spiritual power would that girl need to have? Crack, crack. Then, the goddess of ice cracked a bit and a pretty face was revealed. The girl took a peep outside, alerted and nervous. When she saw that Qin Shaotian was still standing there unharmed, the girl thought she had heard it wrong. She tried to seek confirmation. "I think I just heard the judge say something. Well, did I win?" Qin Shaotian. The elder from the Qin family, the judge.